And welcome back to the second segment of our show this morning. We're moving into a discussion on World Cancer Day 2018. That being said, we are joined on the couch by President of the Belize Cancer Society, Laura Longsworth. Good morning.
Good morning.
And Dr. Russel Manzanero. He is the epidemiologist at the Ministry of Health.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
And we are talking about World Cancer Day 2018, which Belize is commemorating under the theme Early Detection Saves Lives.
Right.
Such a simple and important message that I know is one that you keep on reiterating.
That's right.
And being treated for cancer in Belize. Let's start there.
Yes.
Yes, good morning. It's good being back. Of course, whenever we come, we talk about a little bit of data, surveillance, and what we're doing. But in this case, it's very something near to me. So we're trying to look at it. I believe we have the information that I wanted to share with you is actually data we have from the ending of 2016.
Okay.
The 2017 data is still not completely done. But what we've seen, I mean, it's a continuous thing that we talk about. So many numbers, new diagnosed cases. Even though we have over 300 newly diagnosed for the past 2 years, I mean, it's a trend that we've been seeing for the past years. Only that in the latter years we've been seeing that it's over 300. But I was speaking with Ms. Longsworth here, and what's alarming about it is that we continue to see over 300 mortality cases, deaths related to cancer as well. So it pretty much gives you an idea that we are looking at cases rather in the late end stages of cancer.
Yeah.
So I think it reflects a lot on many things. It could be because of the services provided. We don't have the capacity for diagnostics. So all of those are things we want to look at. But we also have to look at the cancers that are present. I mean, if you look at in cancers in men, of course, the leading cancer there is prostate in Belize. When we talk about women, we talk about breast and cervical cancer being the leading cause of death in women. I mean, something that can be screened. It's an early detection as well. And then, of course, it saves lives, but as we've been seeing, the numbers are showing that those numbers are really high.
Wow.
So to give you numbers and data on treatment, though, is a little bit more So I guess along the way, we're going to talk about the cancer registry, and that pretty much is going to focus on the treatment aspect, the numbers that we want, because we're not getting all the numbers. We have numbers that are in country. Ms. Longsworth does have a numbers that go out, but there are also those cases of the private sector that actually do the referrals and they go on their own, and we don't get those results back. So of course, the numbers that we're seeing pretty much would be or on the reporting as well.
Why wasn't there a move from the onset to sort of consolidate these pieces of information to come up with the idea of the registry?
Yeah, actually, the answer is I can give you a simple answer. It's not so simple, but it's not so simple. But the answer is that we really have not launched a comprehensive cancer prevention and control plan. And so we've been doing it in bits and pieces. Of course, it falls under the Ministry of Health to monitor and collate data and so on. But, we've been screaming from the CSO, the civil society perspective about the issue of cancer. Simply because we come from a different perspective. We come from a community perspective. And so I'm very happy to be sitting here with Dr. Manzanero from his whatever unit, that big word, that it really is responsible for monitoring, evaluation, looking at surveillance, looking at data. And now, at last, every time I come, I'm talking about the cancer registry. Dr. Manzanero is in charge of the cancer registry. Isn't that amazing? That is really, really, really amazing. And I just want to acknowledge, as we commemorate World Cancer Day, the partnerships that we have established with our partners, but in particular the Ministry of Health. Substantially, because we work with Dr. Natalia Beer, and we have worked with the Cervical Cancer Committee, supported fully by her, and we have completed an entire comprehensive cervical cancer plan.
Yeah.
That we have launched the Hpv Vaccine Initiative, and so that can only happen through partnerships and sponsorship. The vaccines, the sponsorship has to be with the Social Security Board, it has to do with the government of Belize, it has to do with other the education system and the churches. So as I sit here today, I'm extremely reflective, and I think that the big success story for the Cancer Society is the partnership that we have established, strong partnerships.
Yeah.
We can, on World Cancer Day, we can say that the comprehensive plan is on its way, and Dr. Manzanero can speak more to that. So now that is on board, and the registry is also making a move.
Yeah. It is important that we have clear information coming out, but one of the things we do know from the data that exists, and you can correct me, but we have breast cancer, cervical cancer, prostate cancer, colorectal cancer as some of the top cancers affecting Belizeans and killing Belizeans. These are all examples of preventable or treatable cancers. Now, I know, Ms. Laura, you've been here many times speaking of different campaigns. We've had BFLA on, we've had several clinics talking about screenings, but there somehow seems to be a disconnect between the very same theme that you're working on this year, that if you go in and test and you detect it early, you most likely, or you have a better probability of surviving.
Correct.
What have we identified as some of the barriers why, while the knowledge is there that you can find and treat these 4 cancers that I spoke about, that we still don't see the behavior taking root?
I think that probably we perhaps have to look at how we deliver care. When you walk into any clinic, it has to be managed comprehensively, and all of us have to be on the same board. In other words, it's more integrative. We've got to not if you come to the clinic for a checkup, then we need to do that little screen. When just a simple questionnaire: when was the last time you had a stool test? When is the last time you had a pap smear? And this is where it begins. But then, on the other hand, what we've been trying to do is to get the public to demand that kind of care. And so the public should know that this is a level of management that because it's a matter of a wellness approach. We approach it in a wellness, and in the process may discover a lump early, or we may discover that there are lesions on our cervix, or the male may discover that there are other issues. Something may say, well, yeah, I do have that. And so, and even for men, the whole issue of men going for wellness is, Doc, I won't even talk about that.
You explain it from a man's perspective.
Tell us about men and wellness.
Is it all about fear of needles? That's sometimes what I think is the fundamental point here.
I believe it's just the fear of knowing what they might have. It's just the screening part. I mean, I can talk about, for example, HIV, TB, that your basic questions: when last did you get screened? You know your risk behaviors. You still know that you're at risk, and you still don't get screened. You still don't go to seek the health services. And when you do, it's pretty much too late. So those are what we're seeing. I mean, prostate, and you talk about stomach, you talk about colon and colorectal. Those are cancers that can be, if detected early, they're very curable. But then it's not being done, and it has a lot to do with sensitization, the knowledge out there. So I believe I just wanted to tap in a little bit on the plan, the NCD plan.
Yes.
That pretty much focuses on that, and it's pretty much, they have 3 objectives in the plan. You talk about alcohol and tobacco consumption. So you're trying to look at taxation on those, you're trying to look at what can be done. We look at the availability and accessibility of medication that is out there for individuals. And of course, you want to look at the increase of physical activity. So in that plan, we're also going to have a plan that is centered around cancer that will focus pretty much on these as well. We know the relation between alcohol, tobacco on cancer. We also know about physical activity and lifestyle behaviors that contribute to cancers as well. So all of those are measures that we want to look at as a preventive or primary care that we can look at.
In fact, fairly recently, I believe it was the WHO that officially tied the link between obesity being a risk factor. Well, it's considered a non-communicable disease, but how it closely tied into persons who were diagnosed with cancer.
Oh, yeah.
So while the assumption was made before, there are validated facts to say that one does contribute to you having the other.
Well, that is an interesting comment, and it's an important one because I think Dr. Manzanero alluded to it. Cancer is one of the non-communicable diseases. It's right in there with diabetes, cardiovascular disease, etc. And there are these common risk factors across board, and obesity is one. It's common risk factors for all those other diseases, including cancer. And so it's an issue of lifestyle. And what we're going to do about addressing those matters. The issue of tobacco smoke has to be addressed. We have some policies in place. We go some places, there are some places, you know, you won't be able to regulate. There are other places who have already, the restaurants I notice have pretty much smoke-free. And that comes directly from an initiative through the Ministry of Health. And of course, the general public have seen it, they see it every day. We need to speak to the issue of taxation on those products. We have to speak to the issue of sugars and sugar, sweetened beverages and so on that's making us ill. And understanding how many teaspoons of sugar are in
Where
those
are we
sweet
with
drinks.
this issue? I find it fascinating that, and I say it all the time on the show, everywhere else, people are shrinking their soda bottles. In Belize, we're growing ours for the same price. And we know what we're looking at when we come to diabetes, obesity, and many of these other issues. But where are we in terms of really looking at effective strategies to be able to help people reduce their consumption of sweetened sugar beverages?
Well, Dr. can speak to that as well from the ministry's perspective, but from the Belize Cancer Society's perspective, the workshop that we're holding today has specific focus on sugar sweetened beverages and how to moving towards policies. The country as a whole, we are all, I think I've heard the Minister of Health speak to the issue of a policy on the whole issue of the same issue, sweetened beverages to our children and so on. And so it has to become a policy issue. And so over the next 3 days, we'll be working on that in partnership with the Ministry of Health and other Diabetes Association on this issue. So we're moving towards that. As a parliamentarian also, in Central America, there's a similar initiative, and you know, Belize sits on FOPREL, and so they also have a policy that, like a template that I'm hoping to see incorporated into our own level. So it's being addressed aggressively.
Do you find that much of this, in respect of the consumption of sugar, sweetened beverages, either by children or by adults, is cultural or traditional? In the sense that you prepare a meal, let's say lunch, you have Kool-Aid, and then the Kool-Aid isn't something that you're purchasing, well, the mixture isn't something that you're purchasing ready-made. So you have the actual Kool-Aid, and then you have the sugar and the water, and you allow, for instance, a child to go ahead and mix the Kool-Aid, and you find that they put sugar in there very, very liberally, to the point where the thing is extremely sweet. But they grow up with this, that whatever meal they consume has to come along with that.
Look, that's just like what we grew up with. Potato pong, and then we put condensed milk over it. I mean, how heavy can that get? And I mean, that is absolutely delicious. But I think that now we have to okay, so that is a practice. What we need to show how many teaspoons of sugar are in those very same drinks that we have. And we also need to show that there has been great success in addressing that issue in Mexico.
Yes.
And
In Barbados,
great.
yes.
Barbados and other Caribbean
Yeah.
islands are adopting it, but they have shown
Yeah.
a
A reduction.
reduction in
The
childhood
numbers in
obesity.
Mexico, especially if we use it
Yes.
as our close neighbor, are
Yes,
very good.
It's a good model, and it's right there. It's
Yeah.
right here. It's not a far away
Yeah.
country. It's right there. It can be done,
Yeah.
and it means that the community and the producers and the manufacturers paid
Have we
attention.
ever done perhaps using the opposite end of the spectrum, liaising with local producers? Because there are also local juices as well. Sometimes you purchase a natural juice in Belize and it tastes like it has so much sugar.
It does.
Uh,
All of them
yeah.
have a lot of sugar in there.
Or
ideal
you perhaps
companies.
buy a locally produced product and it has I mean, if we read a label and it says it has X percentage of sugar for half of the bottle and you drink the entire thing, yeah, it's a lot.
And if you think that there are some of us who don't drink water, we drink juices all day
That's true.
long.
That's true.
So it's not like you have like a half glass of juice in the morning, and then after that you have water or something. We when we're thirsty, we drink another glass of juice and another glass of juice because it's so nice. We don't realize that the sugar is in there that's making it so delicious. So those are some of the things. From the Cancer Society's perspective, we usually use this time to launch our events. We started off the year with a very successful cervical cancer campaign right at our center. We had over, I think it's almost 200 persons coming in through just recruitment, word of mouth, and through social media. And then, of course, we are having our workshop this week. Later this, I want to highlight two important things that are happening this year. One is that the Cancer Society has been approached by Mrs. Mare Sylvester and her company. They have a pharmaceutical company, and they have offered to put a satellite clinic for the Belize, the treatment center in Dangriga at the Cancer Society. So we're moving towards working with the Ministry of Health, Cancer Center in Dangriga, and a private sector. That's clearly a private sector partnering with an NGO to continue to make sure marginalized people have the kind of service that they need, particularly for everybody, but particularly for those that really benefit from the services of the Cancer Center in Dangriga. And the second thing has to do with another visit of the Atomic Energy Group. And that initiative is being spearheaded by Mrs. Kim Simclis Barrow, who continues to speak globally about support for the establishment of a comprehensive cancer center, one that is diagnostic, has all the technology, because now we have all sorts of technology that can help us with diagnostic. And so they're coming in
third week in February.
In February they've been here. They've been here twice, and they've conducted assessments. This is their third visit now to identify the area, the best spot they think that would be suited to put up a cancer center. So, and then apart from that, we continue with education for the Cancer Society, and we just ask people to support us financially because these things cost money, and we find it very difficult to raise funds. I don't think people see Cancer Society as an agency that should be supported sufficiently, but we do work with our children and the community, and so I really want to thank the community for giving us the support. But perhaps those who can, even in terms of technical support and creating a business plan for us and so on, we'd be very happy to have you on board.
Perhaps the challenges of not being able to realize the kind of financial support you would want in terms of fundraising is due to, well, my opinion here, people don't look at cancer for whatever reason the way they look at other illnesses that are equally as serious or terminal in a manner of speaking. So perhaps they figure, well, cancer could wait. Put the emphasis somewhere else.
It won't happen.
But
to
in
me.
fact, it is
Or it won't happen to
extremely
me,
costly. Oftentimes, And we've heard stories through the Cancer Society where you have patients coming and asking for assistance, financial assistance for diagnosis or being able to travel to Dangrega for treatment. So we know how it can be a very heavy burden for people to bear.
Yeah, and in speaking to something that Dr. Manzanero mentioned, for instance, if you notice you have less families with children begging the community for money. Have you noticed that we don't have yet? And that is because the Social Security gave the Cancer Society a tranche of money 3 years ago, and the Ministry of Health, along with ourselves, signed an MOU with the Mexican government, and so the Cancer Society directs them to. And they pay them directly. We have an excellent relationship with the hospital, and so again, that's another part of that whole issue of partnership that has allowed us to do something that without the bureaucracy involved, and we send reports.
It was such a challenge. We had parents coming with children.
Yes, and now you hardly see that, and that is because we've done it. And so I don't know if Dr. Manzanero could also speak to some of the services in the Ministry of Health that exist.
Yes, I guess a huge portion of what you're asking, they don't see the big picture or the severity behind it. It's because we don't have the numbers or we don't have the true picture. We're not showing the numbers and how much has it affected the community. I mean, and because of that, I mean, we need to show the numbers. We need to get more numbers. We need to show the truer picture of what all is happening. Those that leave the country. We need to show how much of our people are dying from cancer. We need to show our services that we offer. We need to get them a little bit to have the confidence back in the services provided. I mean, the only way we can do that is by establishing, and we've talked about it, about establishing the cancer registry. And as a part of that is to actually engage with the other stakeholders. I mean, the private sector, we're trying to, a big partner there is the Cancer Society in Dangrega. I mean, we went down, we met with them. I mean, for example, our BHIS, the electronic health record system that we have, has now rolled out to the Cancer Society in Dangrega, so they now have that capacity to do it. I believe so. We met with them to hear the challenges that they have, what they would want to expect from the ministry and things like that. So I believe what they probably looked upon was the actual turnaround time for results, so that they can actually capture early detection and screening of their patients. So we have looked at it. We actually met as well with pathologists. We met with the path lab to discuss how we can do that, how we can include that module into the health system. So we're looking at all of that. So all of that is in discussion now, and we're going to roll it out to the Cancer Society. To the Cancer Center, sorry. So we're going to do all of that. So even the discussion that we had with partnership is very important. So that's where we are looking at. And the cancer registry is basically to get all that information back. We're going to use the health information system to extract data that's already there, but now to complement and get that data and actually to do analysis. And of course, with the data, you can do your policy, you see where you need to strengthen, you need to, the decision making that needs to happen. So
and trending. You need to trend. If all we're doing in cervical cancer, is it really making an impact? And we've got to be able to say at some point another 5 years, Doc, what's happening if there's HPV vaccines or 5 years time. Right? But 10 years time, what's happening with cervical cancer? We must be able to do an impact study.
And it's important to know whether or not the resources you're putting in are in fact having any kind of effect.
That's right. That's right.
So we know also one of the successes was definitely the rollout of the HPV vaccine. And even though there were some critics in the situation, I believe this success, it has been very successful.
It has been successful as a first year of a rollout, even though you still have pockets of resistance, and the whole issue of generally people are not comfortable with vaccines. But for the most part, I think that for the first year, the Ministry of Health has reported quite a huge success. They're quite satisfied with it.
Second year round.
Second,
Yes, we're in the second.
Right.
All right. Well, what would be your final message to Belizeans as we commemorate World Cancer Day?
I think that it is for us to reflect on the services that are available in the country, and to remember that we do have a primary health care system that where you can go in and get some wellness checks if you ask for it. You know, don't take it for granted. I think that we need to look at our lifestyle and understand that being well is one of our SDGs, you know. You know, health and well-being. And if we intend to be able to take care of our families and our children, we need to be well, and we don't wait until we're sick to go see if we're sick. We go when we're well to see if we can pick up those little things. It could be just basically a little iron deficiency, or it could be something else. Maybe we're feeling a little tired. It could be. So I think that I want to share the whole issue of optimism for the World Cancer Day, to look after our health and to understand that basic wellness clinics are all over the country, available to all of us, and we should take advantage of that.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead now and take a break, and when we come back, we'll be talking about our Dare to Jump sweepstakes. That's coming up after the break.
To play my computer games. When I grow up, I would like to be a doctor, just like Doc McStuffins.
Doc is in.
When I grow up, I want to be a teacher, and when I go on the internet, I want to learn how to make slime. I like slime. I go on the internet to watch cartoons to see the good guys win. I want to be the next prime minister. I want to be the fisherman. I like dancing. I go on the YouTube to see a lot of people dancing. I'm going to be a dance teacher. Dr. Brianna, for you, I am a next-gen kid. I'm teacher Aislinn, and I'm a next-gen kid. I am dance instructor Soraya. I'm a next-gen kid. I'm a next-gen kid. I'm Prime Minister Azela, and I'm a next-gen kid. We are next-gen friends!
What do you want from your bank?
I want to know that my bank will teach me how to save.
I want to know that my bank can help to make my dream of owning a home a reality.
I want to know that my bank will help me grow my business and build Belize.
I want to know that my bank will keep my investment safe.
Whether you want to start a savings plan, build your own home, invest in your business, or plan for retirement, the Belize Bank is here for you. The Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Uh-oh, what are those?
Germs!
That's right, they're germs, and they love to spread.
Uh-oh!
And how do they spread?
Hands!
Germs can spread everywhere from hands, and from hands they move on to food, toys, other hands, and faces.
Yuck!
Germs make people sick, and that's why it's very important to wash hands.
Hooray!
It's important to wash your hands, so follow these steps to do it right.
1,
Turn on the water and wet your hands.
2,
Use soap to lather your hands and scrub.
3,
Rinse your hands completely.
4,
Now that your hands are clean, use a paper towel to touch the handle and turn off the water.
5.
Dry your hands with a paper towel.
Hooray!
Follow these steps every time and you'll keep germs away. So remember, the best way to fight germs is wash hands.
And welcome back. And we promised as of the end of last week that we would tell you more details about our Dare to Jump sweepstakes. And here with us, we actually have our partner in this particular initiative, Rich Grimm, who is the owner of Tsunami Skydive and is the one behind the boogie in Belize that is about to take place. Good morning, Rich.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
We understand it's very difficult to have you down on land right now, but thank you for taking this moment.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
So, Rich, you have quite a history with Belize and coordinating this particular trip, which you call a boogie. And it's just skydivers from all over the world coming to Belize to jump out of planes.
Right, correct.
Tell us how this first got started.
So way back when I came to Belize and went out to San Pedro, and I've been skydiving since 1980, and I came with my girlfriend at the time, who is now my wife, and I wanted to impress her, and we came to San Pedro, and I said, wow, what a great place to bring skydivers. I mean, the view, the reef, and you've been on a jump with us, so you know how beautiful it is here above. And so we actually, it took me 8 trips to come here to talk with the government officials, because they were like, skydiving, are you crazy? We don't have that here. And we eventually got the permission, and the first year we brought 99 people from around the world, and we did 8 events in 7 years here. And then, as you know, San Pedro's growing, and our landing area got smaller. So we went to some different countries. We went to Nicaragua, we've been to Mexico, we've been out to Palau and Micronesia. We've been in Costa Rica the last 3 years, and people beg me, please, Rich, can we go back to Belize? And so we got permission to use a private island to skydive on, which is much bigger. So I said, okay, let's do it, and the people were so excited. So this year we have 127 people, and they're coming from as far away as Australia, Hong Kong, Dubai, Sweden, European countries.
Just to be able to skydive over Belize.
Yes, yes, and what's not to love? And we also bring a lot of people from cold weather climates who are they're tired of shoveling snow, and they can't wait to come and use their parachute instead of their snow shovel. So,
that's fascinating.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
So, of course, it's been since 2011 that you've coordinated a boogie in Belize.
Yes.
You call them boogies. And so you're back, and a part of what we're working on is trying to give a Belizean an experience, a first-time experience in skydiving.
We can't wait.
So I've tried to explain to people as best as I can just why it's such a great experience. But tell us from your perspective. You've probably met a number of first-time experience. What is it about skydiving that attracts people?
Well, I think for a lot of people, it's the big adrenaline. I mean, skydiving goes against everything in your brain, right? You want to stay in the airplane with the door shut, stay flying. And as you know, the feeling when the door opens and the plane slows down and we're at 13,000 feet above the ocean, and we're going to jump out. And when you get your feet to the edge, you overcome your fears. But as you know, in the airplane, everyone's, yay, okay, have a great jump. And you can't describe skydiving. We've all run, kicked the ball, swim. You can't describe what it's like to step out of the airplane. And everyone thinks, oh, my stomach's gonna, go, and it's as you know, you don't feel like you're falling, right? You feel like you're just suspended, a lot of wind on the face. We look really silly, as you see in the videos. The wind gets you.
That's what I told them. I said, everything flaps. That shouldn't
exactly. Well, we're going 120 miles an hour. And then when the parachute opens, and it's so quiet and beautiful. And for a lot of people, it's the big bucket list thing for a lot of people. But people, when they get down, people always, they say, when are we going again? Because it's such an adrenaline rush, but it also does not have the feeling that people think it was going to have. And when they get down, they're like, wow, I want to do that again.
For some reason, just looking at it, I would describe it as either exhilarating in the first instance and then serene.
Yes.
The idea of jumping out of an aircraft.
Let's step back one step. fear,
Fear.
exhilaration,
And that fear is
tranquility, right?
Yeah. That fear, just right before, when you really look out, there's just that when reality sets in and you understand the risk that you're taking.
Sure,
obviously.
of course, of course.
And that you are knowingly choosing to do so. It's a bit empowering to a certain extent. If you weren't pushed out, if you have to be pushed out, I don't know how empowered you are. But if you do choose to jump, there's a bit of empowerment in taking action.
And we've had a few people chicken out up in the plane, and I owned a skydiving center in California for a number of years. And we had, out of 20,000 people, we had 5 or 6 people, not jump. But we've only ever had about 1 or 2 people who, when they got on the ground, they were like, I'll never do that again. Everyone else is, when can I do this again? So,
Now, you probably, in your experience, and what is it, how many jumps have you done now?
Just over 5,000.
5,000.
Yeah.
Do you still get the same adrenaline rush every single time?
Yeah, once you become an experienced skydiver, so I can go jump at a skydiving center in America, right? And I just go and we jump and it's great and we have a great time. But if I can come here and I can skydive into the blue hole, my adrenaline level, and I've made 10 skydives into the blue hole, and I can't wait for next week when I make my 11th. So I'm like a little kid at Christmas. I'm waiting for Christmas morning. But as you get experience, it's doing different things in the skydiving world, flying a wingsuit, trying different skydiving disciplines. But the thing is, it's who you're jumping with and where you're jumping. And when we go to an exotic place, and here, it is so beautiful. And I've skydived all over the world, and I'll have to say, Belize is the most beautiful place I've ever stepped out of an airplane. By
You
far.
were the first your group was the first to skydive into the blue hole, right?
Yes, in 2005 we got permission from the government, and we took 9 people, 10 of us because we had the video guy, and we made this iconic jump, which you've seen with the blue hole in the center of us. And we were, and look, the skydivers on that jump were all highly experienced, and we were all scared to death because we're like, okay, we're going to jump 50 miles out in the ocean into a 450-foot deep shark-infested aquarium surrounded by razor-sharp coral. What could possibly go wrong? Let's get on pay per view first, right? So that, and when we did it, we were like, oh my God, because then we scuba dive it, right? Because you can skydive and then scuba dive, but you can't scuba dive and then skydive. So wow, and when you're out there, it is by far the most magnificent skydive on Earth.
Wow.
One of the fascinating things that you've mentioned earlier that I've only seen on TV, I'll admit, is the idea of the wingsuit. Can you speak to us a bit about that?
So wingsuits were developed, the earliest ones about 20 years ago. People started flying them, and so what a wingsuit does is it slows you down, and then you can actually cover a lot of ground. So on a wingsuit, I could get out over Municipal Airport at 13,000 feet over the city here and almost fly to Key Cocker, right? So you can really cover a lot of ground. And of course now the guys are base jumping and flying them down the mountains and all that craziness. So skydiving, it's like every sport, it evolves, it has new things. You probably remember way back when people used to sky surf on a board. That was a big thing, the X Games. And so the sport's always evolving. But the one thing I also like to just real quick, when the group comes here and we come to Belize, we try to give back to the community, and it's really fun for us. We can't wait to see who wins this contest, because we always, we've done so much for the island and for the rest of the country. We bring school supplies for all the school kids. I host a poker tournament, a fundraiser. So we always want to. When we go to different countries, we always want to leave it better than we found it. And it's our thank you for allowing us to come to this beautiful place and have a great time.
Now, you've probably found in your experience those first-time skydivers who want to use, first-time experience, who want to use that experience as kind of a jumping point, literally, for changes they want to make. Tell us about some of the amazing stories you've heard.
So people have come and they skydive for all different reasons, and people that would go and make a tandem skydive somewhere. So a tandem's the easiest way. You have, the instructor has the big parachute, and then the person wears a harness, and you're
just
attached.
go along for the ride.
You're right. And so, but we had a lady that came in to our skydive center in California. She had lost 180 pounds because all she wanted to do was make a skydive. And she came in, and we have a weight limit because the gear is only rated to 230 pounds. So she lost all this weight. She came in at like 150 pounds. She looked great, and it was fantastic. We've had people that have jumped with us because they beat cancer, and they're like, I've been in the hospital for a year, which you were just talking about all the cancer issues. They've beaten cancer, they're gonna go jump. We have people who, jump because, they wanna get engaged. We've had people give diamond rings in the airplane before they've jumped, or usually we ask them, because usually the girl gets so emotional. We don't want her emotional on the skydive. So we ask them, propose to her when you land. We land, and then
Besides, it's a bit risky if the ring doesn't fit, right?
Yeah, that's right. We don't want to lose the diamond ring in free fall, or she catches it on the door of the airplane or something. So we've had people propose, and we've had people, and we have people come back and say it was so life-changing because it made them realize that they can do anything. They can overcome their fears and really do it, right?
We found some great clips, which we've been sharing. The Will Smith clip is obviously
right,
very popular
exactly,
right now.
exactly.
Talking about facing fear and fear in that way. A few TED Talks as well.
Right.
For the people who are watching, and we have obviously some people who are saying, oh, I would love to try, but that is just too scary. Something might go wrong. What would you say to them about what kind of expectations to have?
So and look, anytime you go up in an airplane, right? Anytime you fly, there's risk. Anytime that you are going to step out of that airplane, there's risk. But what we do is when we come here, we bring the best state-of-the-art skydive gear, right? And people say, oh, the parachute won't open. Well, the parachute's always going to go open. That's not how accidents happen. So we bring the best instructors, and the instructors that we bring have over 10,000 skydives. They're world champion skydivers. I let my son just turned 18, so at our event last year in Costa Rica, he jumped with one of my good friends who's one of our instructors. So I would let my own kids go with our instructors, right? And as you went, you felt, and what they have a calming effect because you're attached to them. Look, they don't want anything to go wrong because they're stuck to you. They can't release you. So we do everything. We have a strict set of safety rules. It's like driving your car. If you follow the speed limit, wear your seatbelt, and your car is well maintained, you're probably not going to have an accident, right? You're not going to have anything go wrong. And that's with skydiving. It's with anything aviation related. You do everything you can to mitigate the risk. Now, that being said, you're still stepping out of the airplane at 13,000 feet above the ground.
But you get that free fall, and that's worth it.
And that's why we go back up and go back up.
How long is it? Is it about 60 seconds? I was trying to remember.
Well, a tandem opens higher because, and again, it's safety margin because you have a person in front of you, and if you have an issue, you want to be able to have more time. So licensed skydivers usually get about 60 seconds, 40 to 60 seconds. A tandem gets about 40 seconds of free fall. And as you know, it seems like an eternity. You think 40 seconons, that's not very long, but when you're falling through the sky, you're like, wow, this is really good. And as you can see from the videos, great. That's it. And so it also gives you just that feeling of freedom when you're skydiving and accomplishment, right? You have a great feeling of accomplishment. I did it. I've overcome my fears.
When we did it back in, it was probably in 2011.
2011, I think.
It was definitely one of our features that a lot of people watched and commented on. And I think because it speaks to the fear that most others have. So we're so happy that you have partnered with us that we can give this experience
we can't
to
wait. Yeah.
someone who feels that it's what they need right now in their life. If it's an experience they want to have in their life right now. So
explain to me. So they're going to write into the.
yes, so
they're going to email the show.
They
and
nominate themselves or someone
Okay.
else. Obviously, the other person has to be in agreement to talk about why this experience would be meaningful to them. And then we make a selection. The deadline is this February 9th, and then we make a selection from there, and then we start to coordinate for this dive.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, good luck.
So we'll have a good story there too.
Well, good luck, everyone.
Yeah. All right. Well,
good luck.
thank you as well, Rich, and best of luck with the boogie. The boogie gets started when?
Everyone arrives on Saturday. We start jumping Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then we go to the Blue Hole Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I can't wait.
Look at the excitement on his face. Yeah.
I can't wait. I'm like, this is like Christmas morning coming. I'm 5 years old and we're waiting for Santa Claus.
All right, but thank you for coming in and,
Thanks,
and sharing
guys.
this experience with
Sure,
us.
thank you.
We're going to go ahead and take our final break, and when we come back,